Hey guys, how you doing this evening? Okay, I'm Carol, and this is Over 50 Making It Better. And tonight I have, I think, a cute little video for you. I think you'll enjoy it. So, I have notes, you know. I gotta have my notes. Alright. So tonight, what we're gonna talk about is our old diaries, journals, and, what would I call it? Old love letters, old, memorabilia. Okay, so, the first question that I have for you is, do you want to save all that old stuff, or do you want to burn it? And the reason I say that is, obviously we're all going to have to go sometime, right? So, do you want all that stuff around for your family to read? I mean, it would be, to me, it would be probably something I would love to sit down and read if it belonged to my mom or grandma or whatever. But do you want your kids to know everything about your past? How much did you write in that diary? What did you put in the journal? Or do you have one of those, remember the old tin boxes? I mean, they still got them now, of course, but you had love letters in them, and probably from the person you married if you got married, or you may have some even older than that, okay? So, let me know in the comments what you would think about that. I thought about it for myself, and I'll tell you, I think that I don't think there's anything too bad in any of my journals or diaries, or because I mean, since I was a teenager I've had diaries, but let me tell you something. I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson with one of those diaries. Let's see, I think it was the very first diary that I had was probably 14 years old, I think. And I probably would have had a bonfire if I still had that. Yes, if I still had it. Because let me tell you, I don't have any idea how this happened. But one of the fellows I was dating back then found the diary out in the alley. We lived in this big building in Chicago, and he said, "How did your diary get out there? You better quit putting this stuff in that diary, blah, 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 blah." I mean, I was never so embarrassed in my life. I said, "What did you do with it?" He said, "I burned that son of a gun." I never thought there was anything that bad in it, you know. But, you know, when you're a kid, you write all kinds of crap. You really do. I mean, and it was a pretty little diary. I would have liked to keep it. But, yeah, so I learned my lesson with that, kinda. Because, I mean, I still do journals. And I still have some diaries. I think the last diaries that I have were probably when Bert and I got married. In 2003, 4, something like that. Well, I know we got married in 2006, but we were together since like end of 2003. I have no idea what I don't remember what I wrote in that diary that was found in the alley. And I still can't figure out how it got there. When I lived with my mom, and I was a teenager, we lived in a little 2-room apartment. Really, it was 1 room with a kind of walk-in closet. I made my bedroom. and a bathroom. That was the extent of our apartment. The only people who came into the house was my brother, who was older than me, and his friend Raymond. And Raymond was kind of afraid of me, I think, so I don't think he would have took it. I don't think he would have took it at all. But my brother, I can't say that, because they probably thought it was going to be funny and something to tease me about. Yeah. But anywho, and now I can laugh about it, okay? I can laugh and say, well, you know, that's okay. Most girls have diaries. I don't know, boys, or do guys have diaries too? I mean, they probably have journals, because, you know, in the last several years, the schools have been teaching the kids to keep a journal, you know, and that it's good for your psyche if you keep a journal. So, I imagine some of them might. But I will tell you that when my daughters passed away, and I read some of their diaries, I really did, because I wanted to feel closer to them, okay? And it really, really brought me joy, because when I read that stuff, I laughed until I cried. And, you know, I always think, well, you know, I wish my mom had left some diaries behind, or some journals behind. You know, just some, I don't know, it makes me feel like they're there with you, you know, you're reading that stuff. And I know some people might get offended. Oh Lord, my mom did that. Are you kidding me? That my mom would never do that, you know. Maybe, you know, but if they're not here anymore, and you read about something they did, or some great love they had, or some places they went, and, you know, what their feelings were. I mean, to me, that's great. So I would have to say that no, I wouldn't have a bonfire of my journals and stuff like that. I would actually want my kids to have, or whoever, grandkids, I would want them to be able to read some of that stuff in there. And, you know, I don't think I ever did anything horrible that I would have wrote in a diary anyway. Now, I ain't gonna say that, because, you know, there are some things I wrote in there that other people might think were, you know, nobody's business, so to speak. But, yeah. So let's see what I have here. So what would you do, guys? Do you think it would be great that you could leave some of them things behind? And if you don't have any diaries, or you don't have any love letters, or you don't have any, which I'm sure you do somewhere, you know, or journals, you know, start making one. Because just think, you could put stuff in there that you would want your grandkids to know about you. You know, what did I do today? You know, even if it's, I'm in pain today, kids need to know that. Because some kids grow up where they think nobody ever has a problem, and that can't happen to me. It never happened to anybody else. And well, I got a broken arm, and, you know, why do I have a broken arm? I mean, we have a lot of kids that they could care less whether they're here or not anymore. And I think the kids need that. I think they need to see that other people go through stuff and they get through it, you know, and stuff like that. But let me know in the comments what you think about that, because it's interesting to me. It's really interesting. And I have been neglecting the last journals that I have wrote in the last year. We've had a lot of doctor's appointments with Bert and myself, and then my son as well. And sometimes I'm so dang busy that just with phone calls or you know, looking at medical papers and or looking up things that I need to look up or that I want to look up, you know, to help other people or whatever. And at our age, I think if we don't have a diary or a journal, it would be nice to start one so that, you know, people in your family or your grandkids that come even after, you know, what about your great-grandkids? I have some great-grandkids. You believe that? I'm 68. My oldest son's 52. I got a granddaughter by him. Then I got another son who has 2 boys, and then another son that has 3 boys, and then, let me think here, I have a great-grandbaby with my granddaughter. Yeah, that's right. My one son has 3 boys and 1 girl. And the girl has a son. That's my grandbaby. My grandson has a baby. He has 2 now, a girl and a boy. And, you know, who's to say? These kids might grow up, you know, when they're young, they could care less, you know. But when they get older, like us even, I wish I had some of my grandmother's stuff. I wish that my grandmother would have had a journal of some kind or a diary of some kind. Like, for example, Bert, when he was, most of you know, he was adopted, and he was adopted from Germany. And when he came over, and I think it was an assignment at school. I'm not sure, but I think it was an assignment where he would write about his adoption and, you know, where he came from, and he had pictures of the orphanage, and it was interesting as all get out, okay? And he was young, like 8 years old maybe when he wrote that. And I like to read it all the time because it's just so much. And his adoptive father died when he was 12, and he was very close to his adoptive father. And, and his adoptive mother died in the 80s sometime. And since he's been married to me, he's always wondered what happened to his parents, you know. Well, one of his adopted sisters, she looked for her relatives and she found a sister. Her real mother had passed away. But when I found that out, she gave me the name and the address of the lady I would speak with to see if they could find out anything about Bert's biological mother and father. And it was great. It took her a while to get the information together, but she did, and we found out that Bart was adopted when he was like 6 years old, and before then, he was living with his father. His mother had passed away, and his father continued to raise him, and then he got sick, and when he got sick, he started looking for a place for Bert. Now, this was the story we got from the lady who did the research. And I don't even think we paid her anything. It was done free. But we found out that his dad made sure that he got a good place to be and somebody to care for him, and told them that he wanted them to make sure that if somebody adopted him, that to let them know his father loved him. And, you know, his father supposedly his mother died when he was around 3, I believe. So his father had him for about 3 years before he passed away. And I mean, I was just so happy that I could help him find that information. And he's 79 years old, you know. So, yeah, it would have been nicer if we would have found it earlier, but he didn't marry me till 2006. So that's when I tried to start looking, you know. But it was interesting, and the little story and the picture of the orphanage, and I mean, it's amazing. And it was a good feeling, I know, to him to know that his parents tried to, you know, raise him and everything, that they loved him, but back then, you know, we had all these diseases that we didn't have shots for or anything, you know. And I can't remember what they said either one of them passed away from. But, yeah. So I know that made him happy. Because, you know, a lot of people want to know. Because, you know, I have 5 bio children. Well, I did till my 2 daughters passed away. And I have 2 adopted children. They're a sibling, boy and girl. And they're just like my own kids, okay? And I always told them, you know, that is your real mother. I understand that. If you get older and you want to, you know, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want nothing to do with her, you know, whatever. But I always gave them that option. And when we adopted them, I also gave them the option to change their name. Because I said, you can keep your name if you want to. I do not want you to have to change it. I said, but just remember this. This is one time that if you don't like the name you have, you can have another one. So they eventually, they picked a name. And so they ended up with my son Noah. He wanted his name to be Noah Levin, which was my maiden name. And he was very close to my boys. So he wanted that to be Noah Levin Pfeiffer. And then Allie used to be Alyssa. And she chose the name Allie Shantae for a cousin that she was very close to when she was little. And so her name's Allie Shantae Pfeiffer. And I just thought it was awesome, you know. But I'm just saying, I want to know if people feel like I do. You know, we're seniors, and, you know, I know some seniors probably frown on the whole diary thing, but I was looking at a magazine one day a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I'm going to do a video for my Over 50 channel. I want to find out what they got to say. You know, like, do you have journals? Do you have diaries? Would you want to leave them for somebody to see or not? So if it's or not, what you going to do with them? Have a bonfire? Let me know, because I'm very curious. And I need to start getting back into my journaling. I think it helps my psyche for sure. I love all you guys. Y'all have a fantastic weekend, and we'll get back together. Make sure to give me a thumbs up. Make sure to hit subscribe. If you're not subscribed, we'd love to have you. Hit the bell next to subscribe so you will get all the videos from this channel. And ask me some questions, or ask me anything you want to in the comments, or tell me anything you want to, or something you would like to know about. I would be glad to research that. I sure would. Love y'all. See you on the next one. Bye.